This is an important moment with the elections in the United States. In the year that the successor of George Bush will be chosen, the U.S. ambassador in Lisbon, Thomas Stephenson, talked to Expresso. You were involved in the fundraising for the Bush's campaigns in 2000 and 2004. How are you living these elections now that Bush is not on the race and you are away from your country?
Well, I think I'm watching it with the same fascination that everybody appears to be viewing it from here. I was under the mistaken impression when I arrived that what we call soccer and you call football was the principal spectator sport, but since I've been here, it seems to me the real spectator sport's watching our primary. So I'm participating with everybody else here.
The embassy has a special role in this time of elections. It becomes more important for the North American community that are living abroad.
I think only in the sense that we try and encourage everybody to exercise both their right, their privilege, but also their obligation to vote. But other than that, there is no involvement, of course, in partisan politics by the embassy, by me, by anybody here.
Do you have any notion how the North American community is living it? Is following the elections in the United States?
I sense they have the same fascination with it that the Portuguese do. Certainly, this is a fascinating election because regardless of which of the three that still have some chance to be our next president, they would each be unique. One the first Afro-American, one the first woman, and the other the oldest person ever to hold office. So I suspect there are elements in that cause it to be particularly fascinating.
Do you think Portuguese people understand what is at stake when you're electing a U.S. president?
Everybody is interested and realizes that because the United States is who they are, that it's a very important election. I mean, any presidential election in the United States is important, just as any election here or in any democracy is important.
As you were saying, these primaries are being atypical. You have an African American and a woman running for the Democrats, and we have John McCain, who sometimes is considered older than the usual candidates are, and sometimes he's considered as a Republican liberal. Do you think that this means that Americans want to cut radically with the 8 years of the Bush administration?
I don't know that it reflects that. I mean, while because of the unpopularity of the president today, not atypical. President Reagan was equally unpopular late in his term. President Clinton was unpopular late in his term, so this is not unique. But when you really look at a lot of the positions on the most critical issues, there's not that much divergency between where Senator McCain is, whether it's fiscal policy, whether it's foreign policy. There's not as much distinction between where the president is and where Senator McCain is, at least in my view, as for political purposes he might try and create. And frankly, I don't think at the end of the day there's an enormous amount of distinction between Senator Obama and Senator Clinton in terms of where they are on the basic issues. And while they are certainly trying to create some very significant differences from this administration today, I think if one of those two was the next president, you won't see as sharp a correction as a lot of people might anticipate today.
Were you surprised with McCain's victory?
Yes, I mean, I have been very wrong, so I mean, asking me predictions would probably not be a good idea. If you'd asked me 12 months ago kind of where we'd be now, I would have said that as of Super Tuesday, Senator Clinton would have been the Democratic nominee, and that if we were still into May and June with one of the races unsettled, that it would certainly be the Republican nominee, not the Democratic nominee. So it looked like it was going to be a real horse race between Senator McCain and former Mayor Giuliani, former Governor Romney. So it really is to the senator's credit that he became the presumptive nominee as early as he did.
When do you think that we're going to have a Democratic candidate?
Certainly, I'm sure that Senator Clinton has been and is today under enormous pressure to pull out. On the other hand, I think we've learned from watching the Clintons over many years that one one discounts them or eliminates them prematurely at their own peril. They have proven themselves to be wonderful, tenacious candidates for a nomination or an election, and they have come back from long odds before. So I think that suggests one should be cautious. On the other hand, if you look at where we are today, you have to say that it would be a miracle if she were able to overcome.
Is America ready to have an African-American president or a woman?
I think so. I think that's, I think absolutely that America's ready, and whether that will happen this time, we'll have to see, but I think the fact that we are where we are in the primaries suggests that America's very much ready.
In the general election in November, what do you think it will be the decisive factor for the Americans' choice? The economy, Iraq, or something else?
4 or 5 months ago, it would have appeared that Iraq and the Middle East would have been the crucial issue in the elections. As things started to turn more positively in Iraq, you all of a sudden saw the Democratic candidates talking a lot less about Iraq and a lot more about the economy, because some of the distortions of the subprime debt crisis were beginning to impact the economy. Sitting where we are today, I don't know how to forecast that. There is reason to believe that it's possible we've seen the worst of the impact of the subprime debt crisis in the United States, that maybe our economy is bottoming out, maybe we're not actually going to go into a recession. If that's the case, then maybe there's a case to be made that there's going to be less focus on the economy.
The U.S., as you were saying, are going through a serious economic crisis. We can call it serious. And the war in Iraq hasn't over yet. What is the Bush legacy?
I think we'll have to leave it to the historians. If we are able to make significant improvements in Iraq, certainly if we make major improvement in the Middle East, that will have a big impact on this president's legacy.
Is Guantanamo the most important problem or situation that he leaves for the next president to solve?
There is a major problem that somebody has to deal with. There are a lot of people who have created some horrible acts that we have to put somewhere. And we had, as the leader in fighting the war on terrorism, we had to find some place where we could hold these enemy combatants, and Guantanamo turned out to be the place. We are working with people here in Europe on we'd like to close down Guantanamo. We recognize that it has become an unfortunate symbol, but it has served a very necessary function, and if it weren't Guantanamo, it would have to have been somewhere else.